Hi, Rov.
Hello. Who's with us? Let me look who's with us. I'm just allowing people to join, people asking to join. So just admitting everyone that want to join, because I see people joining us. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining. Thank you. So who's with us now? Let me just look quick.
Hello, Rob.
That's a story again.
Hello. People just, sorry guys, I'm just admitting everyone.
I'm not going to be able to listen to it.
Just trying to admit everyone.
Just send me a copy. I can't listen to it.
So who's with us? Dr. Les is with us.
Shalom, Rav. Shalom.
Hello. Kabechnik with us. Norman, Dina. I see Adrian Taylor joining us now. Who else with us? Stephen with us. Sean Muscat with us. Thank you for joining us. Who else with us? I see Louis. Okay. But I would like to take the opportunity and to wish our friend Louis a long life. Louis' brother passed away a week ago. He didn't even know. He never been told. Okay. So Louis will take the opportunity and wish you all a long life. Please God, you'll never see any more. Okay, we'll take Dr. Les to give us all the news. Dr. Les, bechavod.
Okay, I just want to give some good news. It's always good to have good news. So there's an experimental COVID drug that it cured 30 out of 30 moderate to severe cases in their phase 1 clinical trials in an Israeli hospital. It's the Soreski Medical Center in Tel Aviv, and it's called EXO-CD24. So this is very promising. So Bezrat Hashem, that it's you inhale, you inhale the medication. So there is light at the end of the tunnel. The only thing which they said, they interviewed one of the developers last night on R24. They said, if you're on a ventilator, then it's not, then it's too late. You can't use it. But before one chas v'chila gets to the stage that you're on a ventilator, so they've had 30 out of 30. It's incredible, but it's only in the first stage. So please God, there'll be a cure from Israel, which is incredible.
Great. Okay, Rabrota, take the opportunity. I'm going to mute everyone. And are we going to have only our Baal Kore? Mark is going to unmute himself, obviously, no. I hope that you all have your Megillah, so it's easier to follow. But I would like to start to delegate the show, first of all, to Chaim Kalman, Ben Chaim Kalman, Rav Avraham Chaim Ben Eliezer Yaakov, Rabbi Tenza, Esther Kaden Bat Ketzia, Mordechai Ben Rahma, Tamar Bat Zeava, Esther Bat Moshe Levy, Rachel Bat Malka Sultana, Rivka Leah Bat David. And that's Leilui Nishmat. Okay? And for Lerfuah it's mean in health of Menashe Naji Ben Farha, Liora Bat Miriam, Moshe Meir Ben Hana, Aviva Batia Bat Keila, Hannah Sarah Bat Devora, Shlomo Pin. Sorry?
Aviva Batia Bat Shaina Keila.
Shaina Keila. Sorry. Shaina Keila. Hannah Sarah Bat Devora, Shlomo Pinhas Ben Shaina Fisha, Devora Bat Esther, Arav Avraham Ben Marina, Arav Shlomo Yehuda Ben Dalia, Moshe Ben Devora, Orna Bluma Bat Miriam. Please God, רפואה שלמה to them, ולכל שאר חולי ופצועי עמו ישראל בכל מקום שהם. So as we say, as I send message, today we're going to speak about Migilat Esther. We're going to go through the Megillah, but I would like to do first the introduction. And we know that Hazal tell us in the Gemara and also been Paskin La'alacha, but the Shulchan Aruch by Marana Bet Yosef, Rabbi Yosef Karo, that Mas Adar marbim besimha. What it means, marbim besimha? We have to understand what it means, marbim besimha. That all year round we should be in happiness, but in Adar we have to have extra joys. And what I'm going to tell you, what I'm going to tell you now, I'm going to tell you a remedy, and this remedy been checked, and it's a segula that you have to do, and I suggest to everyone to do. What is the segula? The segula can be found in the book Yalkut Avraham in Siman Taf Resh Pei Vav, that means chapter 686. Who brought the segula? Rabbi Avraham ben Rabbi Shabtai. He was living around 100 years ago, and he bring that segula. And what is the segula? He said that a person should take a piece of paper and to write on a piece of paper, Mishenichnas Adar Marbim Besimcha. Underneath, Mazal Dagim. Adar Mazal Dagim. I repeat, to write on a piece of paper. Okay? Mishenichnas Adar Marbim Besimcha. Underneath that, Chodesh Adar Mazal Dagim. Adar Mazal Dagim. That means Adar, the star sign is a fish. And the segula for it, Rabotai, that he will see Simcha. Not only that, whatever he will ask, he will get. And now come the cherry on the top. Where you should hang it? You can hang it by the front door, and if you leave it all year around, it's a gula, it's a remedy for shlom bayit. And who doesn't need shlom bayit? Which person doesn't want shlom bayit? And not only that, wherever you hang it, and you see it, as long that you can see it, okay, whatever you ask, you'll get. And how do we know that? My cousin in Israel sent me his son. That means my uncle, my cousin's son sent me that video today, early morning, I got it. And when I looked at it, I've gone through it at least 4 times to make sure that everything is okay. I checked everything. And he said there, the guy that given the segula, he said that he tested it. What's happened? A person come to him, one of his talmidim, and he said to him, you know, my sister is very old and she never find a shidduch. And she really want to get married. What should I do? He said to him, make sure that she'll write, Mishenichnas Adar Marbim Besimcha. Okay, and she must put it on a front, on a door, on a bedroom, on her room. And once that she done it on her room, she can look at it. And the segula is to look at it. That's what's the secret behind it. So I wanted to share with you, for people that need health, people that need anything, is good to have it. Okay, so that's the segula for the month of Adar. Now the story of Purim. We start with the story of Purim. The miracle of Purim happened around 3,421 years. The 3,400. It happened 3,421 years ago. That means that it's 356 years. Yeah, 356 years before the Common Era. That was during the time of the destruction of the first temple. That means the period of the miracle of Purim happened during the time of the destruction of the first temple. Remember that. After the destruction of the first temple. And it was 250 years before the miracle of Hanukkah, because the miracle of Hanukkah happened during the time of the second temple. So we see that there is quite a big difference. Okay, what's happened here? We have to explain what's happened. Okay. The miracle of Purim been stretched over 9 years. Not like many people think that it's happened like over certain amounts of months, like 12 months, and then the miracle happened. Not at all, not at all. The miracle of Purim actually stretched over 9 years, And that's how it happened. There's a lot to speak about it. I hope in the next show to give more explanation what's happened, but at the moment we have to start the show, and that's what we're gonna do. So I would like to start with number one. We're gonna start with chapter 1. We start with verse 1. But before, just to give you some idea about the Megillah. The Megillat Esther at the beginning never been brought into the Tanakh. Tanakh, it means Torah, Nevi'im, Ktuvim. In Ktuvim, we have the Tehillim, the Sefer of Tehillim. Not only that, we have Sefer Mishle, and etc. One of the books that there is there, it's the scroll of Esther, Migilat Esther, okay, in Ktuvim. And she merited that Megillah will be entered to the Torah, Nevi'im, Ktuvim. Okay, so בעזרת השם נעשה ונצליח והשם עלינו ברחמיו ירוויח. So I'm going to read the first verse on chapter 1. ויהי בימי אחשוורוש. הוא אחשוורוש המולך מהודו ועד כוש. 27 ומאה מדינה.
And it came to pass in the days of Achashverosh, the Achashverosh who reigned from Hodu to Cush, over 127 provinces.
Okay. Chazal tell us in the Gemara Masechet Megillah, and I always bring it, whenever in Masechet Megillah, page 10, folio 2, Chazal say, whenever the word Vayehi been, we can see it, we can read it, that means that it's referred to pain and agony. That's the custom that we know that for many years Chazal explained it. And Chazal, by the way, if you ask who done it, we know it from Anshe Knesset Agdola, the member of the Great Assembly. They sang it. And Chazal took it from there in a Gemara. Chazal asked, I don't understand, why does it start Vayehi Me'Ahashverosh? Because if you read the Megillah, we'll see that after all, that Haman HaRasha, not only that he been killed and been hanged, his 10 sons also been hanged. By the way, there's a big mahloket, how many, in the Gemara, Masechet Megillah, how many kids Haman have. Here in the Megillah, we see that he have 10. That's from Zeresh. That's from the one wife. There is one of the opinion that he have up to 208 kids from all different women, Haman HaRasha. Anyway, but that's not for now. So we say that HaKadosh Baruch Hu make a miracle for the Jewish people, and they hang Haman HaRasha and his 10 kids. Not only that, the Jewish people kill the enemies and etc. It was a great salvation for the Jewish people. So how come that it's a Vayehi b'yimei Ahashverosh? Why is it mentioned sadness and agony and pain? So the Mefarshim explain, number one, what's happened. We have to understand. We have to explain like this, that the Mefarshim explain, nachon that HaKadosh Baruch Hu done a miracle to the Jewish people in the time of Ahashverosh. But what's happened? That until the miracle happened, Haman HaRasha and Ahashverosh almost destroyed the Jewish people. First of all, if we take the word Ahashverosh, what it means, Ahashverosh. So there is different explanation what it means, the word Ahashverosh. If you take the word Ahashverosh and you split it to two, Ahrash, that means Ah is a brother, Rash is a poor. That means that Ahashverosh make every Jewish person poor, from the text that he put, heavily taxed the Jewish people. Other explanation, Ahashverosh. What it means, Rosh? Chazal explained that every person, every Jewish person that used to hear the name Ahashverosh used to have a headache. Just to hear his name, immediately get a migraine. Ahashverosh. What it means, Ahashverosh? That he used to get such a headache from all of his problems that he used to cause. Chazal explained also in a Gemara, Shishir Shinehem Shel Israel. What it means, Shishir Shinehem Shel Israel? That he caused the Jewish people from so much worried, from so much poverty, that the teeth turn black from so much poverty, that he make the Jewish people underneath him so poor. And that's why Hazal tell us Hashverosh. During the time of the Hashverosh, until the salvation come, was such a difficult time to the Jewish people. Those 9 years underneath those 127 countries that was, he almost ruled the entire world, Ahashverosh. He make the Jewish people suffer so much that Shir Shinem Shel Israel, what it means, that he caused that the Jewish people, that the teeth become black. Okay, now we understand what it means, B'imei Ahashverosh. And then in verse 2, it says something very interesting. Look what it says. בימים ההם, כשבט המלך אחשוורוש על כיסא מלכותו, אשר בשושן הבירה.
That in those days when King Ahasuerus sat on his royal throne, which was in Shushan, the capital.
Okay. The Migilat tell us here that the capital was Shushan. And many of the Mefarshim immediately say, how do you say that Shushan was the capital? It was a city of Shushan that we all know, and it was Shushan Abira. So how did you come and tell me that suddenly you turn Shushan to the capital? Many of the Mefarshim ask that question. How can it be? Very, very famous question. Because until then, Shushan wasn't the capital. Suddenly, Ahashverosh, when he became a king, when he sit on his chair, what do you mean when he sit on his chair? And that's the major key. Hazal explained that in a time of Ahashverosh, who was in ruler before the Persian? The Iraq, the Babylonian. What happened? The king of Bavel, Nebuchadnezzar, he destroyed the first Beit HaMikdash. When he destroyed Beit HaMikdash, he took the chair of Shlomo HaMelech. Shlomo HaMelech had a special chair that he had steps on it, but those steps were like escalator, was electricity in the time of Shlomo HaMelech. Not only that, on one side was a lion, and the other side was an eagle. On the side, on the top of the chair, was a shape of all different kind of animal. And when people used to come to be judged in the front of Shlomo HaMelech, if he used to lie, they have a special, those animals have a special sense that if a person tried to lie, the lion used to make such a noise that the person say immediately, sorry, I lie. Or the eagle used to fly in the air above that person, like trying to attack him, and he used to change his mind. That chair been taken by Nebuchadnezzar to Babylon. He took it to Babylon. After that, for some reason, the chair never worked because HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the Kiseh Malchut, that means the chair of the kingdom always going to stay in Israel. So he took it to Babylon. When the war started between Babylon and the Persian win the war, one of the chair that he used, Melech Shlomo, King Solomon, and he wanted it. And he took it, and when they took it on the chariot, for some reason, it got damaged completely. And he couldn't do anything with it. He decided to build identical chair. Where is the craft people? Where was in that time the craftsmen? All the good craftsmen was in Shushan HaBirah, where the Jewish. So he decided that he's going to make similar chair to what Shlomo HaMelech used to sit in Shushan HaBirah. But that chair, he couldn't move it. Why? Because if he would move it, it'll break, because it was such a special chair. So the engineers and the craftsmen suggest to him, listen, you can't move that chair. So he said, you know what? I will decide that that chair will stay in Shushan HaBirah, and it's easier to move the capital to Shushan, and Shushan become the capital. So what does it mean? That now we're learning that what happened, that the chair, that what caused Ahasuerus to change the capital of Persia. That means suddenly, because they couldn't move that chair that they built specially for Ahasuerus to try to copy the chair of Shlomo HaMelech, it stayed in Shushan, and it's easier to turn Shushan to the capital instead of transporting the chair to the capital. And that's why it said there that what it said, Bayamim ha'en keshevet HaMelech, Ahasuerus al kiseh malchuto. What it means al kiseh malchuto? When he decided to sit on that chair. Where? In Shushan HaBira. Why dafka there? Because he couldn't transport that chair. Now we can understand what does it mean. There's another interesting thing that Hazal tell us in verse 4. Let's look what it says in verse 4. בהראותו את עושר כבודו, את עושר כבוד מלכותו ואת יקר תפארת גדולתו ימים רבים 80 ומעט יום.
When he displayed the riches of his glorious kingdom and the splendor of his excellent majesty for many days, 180 days.
So he displayed the richness of his kingdom. And there is a mahloket in Migilat, also in the Midrash. Is Ahasuerus was from a royal family or not? According to one opinion, Ahasuerus was the son of Daryavish. That's mean, and his name was Kamibaz. Kamibaz, that was his real name, but every king, they used to call him Ahasuerus. According to different opinion, Ahasuerus wasn't even from a royal family. A matter of fact, Ahasuerus was such a lower family that he actually was a very nice word to say, rednecks, really rednecks, that he have no brain. So how he become a king? The Mefarshim explain, if you read that verse, בהראותו את עושר כבוד מלכותו. What it mean, עושר כבוד מלכותו? That mean that Ahasuerus find treasure. Chazal tell us something extraordinary. Chazal tell us that the king Nebuchadnezzar, he was the Babylonian king. After Ahasuerus managed to win the war, against him, he found in the Euphrates River 680 treasures that Mr. Nebuchadnezzar drowned them in the Euphrates River. Why? Because Nebuchadnezzar didn't want to give all of those treasure that he took from Jerusalem, all the gold vessel that he took, all the jewelries, that means all the beautiful stuff that was on the vessel, silver and etc. and copper that he took from Jerusalem, he took to Babylon. But he didn't want his son to benefit from it, and he didn't want anyone to benefit. What has he done? He drowned them in the Euphrates River. So what happened there? When the war started, Ahasuerus, after he conquered Babylon, he found that there is in the Euphrates River great treasure, and he found 680. Hazal explained that he took that, he shipped it from the Euphrates River to where? To Persia. He took it all the way to Persia. He shipped it to Persia, and that's how he became rich. And when he became rich, because he was one of the officers, he bought his kingdom. What happened? Daryavish, that was a king, saw that there is a very strong guy like Ahasuerus. And that man doesn't afraid from no one. He said, I want to conquer Babylon. The best army man that I can choose will be Mr. Ahasuerus. He sent him to the war, and he fought for him, and he conquered Babylon. But by the time that he came back, Daryavish died. So he bought his kingdom. So Hazal explained that here Ahasuerus came and took out all of his beautiful gold and jewelry to show, and that's how he bought. Why? Because he became rich. When a person become rich, he decide to do whatever he can. Not only that, maybe skipped in verse 3, it's tell us, and that will help us to understand. How do we know? Look what it says in verse 3, I forgot to explain that. בשנת 3 למלכותו עשה משתה לכל שריו ועבדיו, חיל פרס ומדי, הפרטנים ושרי המדינות לפניו.
In the 3rd year of his reign, he made a feast for all his officials and his servants, the army of Persia and Media, the nobles and officials of the provinces being present.
What's happening here? That will help us to understand what I say in verse 4. What does it say there? It says something very interesting. It says here that King Ahasuerus, after 3 years that he became a king, he suddenly decided to make a feast. And many of the Mefarshim say, hey, Vachabiki, what's happening here? What are you doing, Mr. Ahasuerus? You should make the feast on the first year that you become a king. Why Dafka only after 3 years? So the Mefarshim explain something extraordinary. Ahasuerus knew, and everyone knew, that 70 years after the destruction of the first temple, the second temple going to be built. And Ahasuerus wanted to see if that prophecy going to work. When he saw that that prophecy doesn't work, not that it didn't work because Ahasuerus didn't calculate the year properly. And that merit, he got mistakes. So what has he done? He tried to show his richness. And that's what we explain in verse 4. Why did he show all of his richness? And where did he get it? We explain. But you know why he did it only on the 3rd years? Because he wanted to see if the prophecy that everyone was speaking will come true. Is Bnei Israel, is the children of Israel, the Jews, going to merit to see the building of the second temple or not? When he saw that this prophecy doesn't work, what has he done? He make a big feast. And now we're going to get to it in verse 7. We'll see what he done and why he done it. There is something very important here to understand in all of that. So what has he done? After 3 years, because he didn't calculate the 70 years properly, he decided to make a feast. Why decide to make a feast? We'll see now, because Hazal also tell us something extraordinary in Masechet Yoma, and now we're going to get to it. So now we understand where's the richness come, where's all of it, and why dafka after 3 years. In verse 7 he said, והשקות בכלי זהב וכלים מכלים שונים ויין מלכות רב כיד המלך.
The drinks were served in golden goblets, no 2 goblets alike. The royal wine in abundance, according to the bounty of the king.
Okay, here the Torah tell us something very interesting. Bekle zahav, what it means bekle zahav? Gold vessel. And that's what we have to understand. Why is it tell us gold vessel? And not only that, listen what it says after that. Mikelim shonim, different vessel. Wait, you tell me gold vessel and different vessel? What difference it make to me? Listen what the Mefarshim say and Hazal and Gemara and Masechet Yoma. Hazal explained that when Nebuchadnezzar, Rasha, destroyed the first temple, he took gold and silver, all the beautiful vessel that was in Bet HaMikdash. Where did he took it? He took it to Babylon. But because he didn't want his family to benefit from it, and he didn't want anyone else to benefit from it, he sunk it in the Euphrates River. So what's happened? Ahasuerus found it. Ahasuerus took all of that vessel and waited 3 years. When he saw that according to his calculation, that he calculated wrong, the prophecy doesn't come true, he started using it. Why did he try using it? Hazal explained, for 3 reasons. And that's where the decree was on the Jewish people. Number 1, he wanted to disgrace the vessel of Bet HaMikdash by using them, because no one allowed to use them. Number two, Bnei Israel saw that he used it for Avodah Zarah. They're not allowed. They're not allowed to join the feast. And number three, we'll see just now, that was immorality that he wanted to have in a feast. The Kadosh Baruch Hu make a miracle that the immorality didn't happen. So what happened? What happened? Hazal explain in the Megillah and tell us that what Esther HaMalka writing here, that all of us is, everything is hiding, mikelim shonim bekle zahav. That means that what did Ahashverosh wanted to do? He took all of this vessel. He wanted to disgrace the vessel of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that Bet HaMikdash, but not only that. He wanted the Jewish to be despair. Why? Because all of his mission behind to show them, to show the Jewish people in Persia, to show the Jewish people in Persia that Bet HaMikdash, the second Bet HaMikdash, not going to be built. Why? Because look, here, I'm using those vessels, and he wanted the Jewish people to be despair. That was his aim behind all of that. So what do we see from here? We see, number one, that Ahashverosh wasn't such a nice man or such a naive man like it sounds in the Megillah. Ahashverosh was a wicked person, and that's all before Haman HaRasha joined. Okay, let's move on. In verse 8, look what it says. V'hashtiya kadat en ones ki en yasod המלך על רב ביתו לעשות כרצון איש ואיש. What's happening?
The drinking was according to the law, without coercion. For so the king had ordered all the officers of his house, that they should do according to every man's pleasure.
What does it mean, the drinking according to the law, to every man's pleasure? You give a drink, you give wine. What difference does it make? Can be that the king, that he is the king of Persia, can he give wine not according to the law? Can he give wine not according to the pleasure of the house, of every house? What is happening here? Ahashverosh was such a wicked man, Rabota, you have no idea. You know what he done? He given the Jewish people wine that was kosher, mehadrin. The best kosher. Why? To draw them to come to the feast. Not only that it was kosher, that it was legal. What does it mean legal? It was kosher that every person that drank wine according to his hechsher. But he done something else. What it means to the happy of every house? That every person that came to the feast, if he was 20 years old, he got wine 10 years older. That means that the wine was 30 years old. And that's what's happening behind it. Esther HaMalka and Mordechai that wrote the Megillah try to tell us, you know how we managed to draw the Jewish people to the feast? By that he told them that there is kosher wine. The food is 100% kosher, you have nothing to worry. But beside the kosher food and the kosher wine, was something that he plotted. What does he plot? To despair the Jewish people. Number two, to disgrace the vessel of Bet HaMikdash. And number three, the worst thing that we're going to get now, it's to cause immorality. Where do we see it? Now I'm going to jump to verse 12. And look what it says in verse 12. Well, as a matter of fact, I'm going to start in verse 11. In verse 11 and 12. We read them both, and that will help us to understand where is the immorality and what's happening here. Look what it says in verse 11. It says, להביא את ושתי המלכה לפני המלך בכתר מלכות. Remember, כתר מלכות. להראות העמים והשרים את יופייה כתופעת מראה היא. ותמאן המלכה ושתי לבוא בדבר המלך. אשר ביד השריצים, ויקצוף המלך מאוד וחמתו בערה בו.
Bring Vashti the queen before the king wearing the royal crown, to show off to the people and the officials her beauty, for she was beautiful to look upon.
Okay. Beautiful to look on, huh? Read 12, Vatema'ena Malka.
But Queen Vashti refused to come at the king's commandment, conveyed by the chamberlains. The king therefore became very incensed and his anger burned in him.
Okay, so we see from these two verses, there is something very extraordinary. Number one, the Migilat tells us that Ahasuerus wanted to show the beauty of the queen. What does it say? It says he wanted to show the crown. Okay, very nice, beautiful crown. She must show the crown. But it doesn't say that she wanted to show her beautiful dress. And then it says that the Queen Vashti refused to come. We have to understand what's happening here and why she refused. So Hazal explained something extraordinary, Rabotai. What's happening here? Hazal say, by that it said that she showed the crown. Ahasuerus wanted his wife to come naked, completely naked, only with a crown on her head. And Vashti agreed, because Vashti was full of immorality, was very cheap. Although that she came from the royal family, she was very cheap. And she agreed to it. Why? Because Hazal explained that the kings and the ministers from all different countries have an argument between them. Came Ahasuerus and said, all of you talking nonsense. I'll show you what it means beauty. My wife is really beautiful. So become an argument. Yeah, you're going to dress her, you're going to put her there. He said, no, she's going to come naked. She's going to come naked. The queen agreed to come naked. How did she agree to come naked? On one condition, that the crown going to be on her head. She wanted the crown on her head. That's all what she was carrying. To be naked or not, nish gafelach. So what did Ahasuerus plan? Also to cause the Jewish people to sin by looking at what? A naked woman. What happened? HaKadosh Baruch Hu make a miracle, and he sent the Malach Gabriel, the angel Gabriel. Malach Gabriel caused Vashti and that day to get a leprosy. Hazal explained what it means, leprosy. All the body become full of leprosy. Not only that, listen what else. Hazal explained that the Malach Gabriel caused her to have at the backside a tail. And she said, how can I come naked and full of leprosy to that feast? Everyone will laugh at me. Now we have to understand why dafka naked? What's happening here with the nakedness? So there is few secret into it. Hazal explained in the Gemara that Vashti was such a wicked person and she hated the Jews more than anyone. What did she used to do? She used to have Jewish women slave. And she used to use them dafka on Shabbos. But what did she used to embarrass them? How she used to embarrass those women? By causing them that they have to serve her on Shabbat naked. That means the Jewish women that served in the palace of the queen, she insulted them or degraded them, whatever you want to call it, that they have to serve naked. HaKadosh Baruch Hu said, midah keneged midah. You wanted to show your beauty as a naked? I'll teach you what does it mean. Not only that you're not going to be naked, you're not going to cause my children to sin. I'm going to bring on you leprosy. And that leprosy and that tail that will grow on your backside will cost you to be hanged, to be dead. And that's what's happened. And Ahasuerus immediately become full of anger. Why? Because Ahasuerus say, hey, what's happening here? No one listening to me. No one listening to me. The queen is against me. Hang her. And that's what's happened. So what's happened? HaKadosh Baruch Hu punish her that she gonna be hanged. And Baruch Hashem, HaKadosh Baruch Hu get rid of her. Let's move towards the end of, let's move to verse chapter 2. The time is running. I'm actually running very far behind. Let's go to verse 2. And in verse 2, I'm going to skip straight to verse 7. איש יהודי היה בשושן הבירה, ושמו מרדכי בן יאיר בן שמעי בן קיש, איש ימיני. Verse 5.
There was a Jewish man in Shushan, the capital, whose name was Mordechai, son of Yair, son of Shimi, son of Kish, the Benjamite.
Okay. Here on a pshat of the Dvarim, the Migilat tell us that was a Jewish person, that his name is Mordechai ben Yair ben Shimei ben Kish, Ish Yemini. But what it mean Ish, a Jewish person? Many of the Mefarshim say, why is it say Ish Yehudi? And a matter of fact, there was many Jewish people in the capital, in Shushan HaBira. Why you tell me only Ish Yehudi? Wait, it was only one? No, it was many. We have to understand what does it mean. So the Midrash explained, it's true that was many Jewish people in Persia, in Shushan, the capital of Persia. But Mordechai was something special about him. And that's where it comes. Number one, he was member of the Sanhedrin. Sanhedrin is those the judges that used to judge Bnei Israel, that they used to do everything for Bnei Israel. There was the Urim and Tumim. That means everything that the Jewish people have to make or have a decision to make, it's all by the Sanhedrin. And Mordechai was the head of the Sanhedrin, member of the Sanhedrin and the head. Not only that, listen to that, Ish Yehudi was one Jewish man. Yes, one Jewish man. And he was advisor to the king Ahasuerus. That means that Mordechai Yehudi was member of the minister of Ahasuerus. He was one of the advisors to the Ahasuerus. That not many people know. Not only that, what it means Yehudi? Yehudi milshon hodaya. Hodaya is to thanks. To thanks HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Mordechai used to thank HaKadosh Baruch Hu for all the mercy and the compassion that he had on him and all the Jewish people in Persia. Not only that, Hazal say, Yehudi shaya yirei shamayim. What it means yirei shamayim? That Mordechai have the fear of heaven. Another explanation, Yehudi, that Mordechai was, היה נזהר לאכול מאכלים כשרים בלבד. The Mefarshim say, Mordechai was so careful to eat only kosher food, not like any other one else. There's many Jews, some of them wasn't so strict. You know, I'll go to a kosher restaurant. I'm not going to eat meat, non-kosher meat. No, but I'll eat salad. Never mind the salad. The chocho inside the salad is 5 times worse than eating non-kosher. And that's what it means, Ish Yehudi. That everything that he done, it's according to the Jewish law. Now we can understand why it's mentioned. Why is it mentioned in the pasuk? Ish Yehudi it start. Okay, let's move on to verse 7. And here we see something very, very interesting. If you look at the Megillah that you have in the front of you, I'm going to read it. Look at the word that I'm going to put a point. Sorry, not on verse 7. That's in verse. I think that's in verse. No, that's in verse 15. But let's go first to verse 7. And in verse 7 it says like this: "Vayehi omen et hazasa hi Esther bat dodo ki en la'av va'em ve'na'ara yefat to'ar u'tovat mar'eh u'bemot avia ve'ima lekaha Mordechai lo lebat."
And he had reared Hadassah, that is Esther, his uncle's daughter. Since she had neither father nor mother, the girl was finely featured and beautiful. And when her father and mother had died, Mordechai adopted her as his daughter.
Okay, here we see something very interesting in that verse. Hazal tell us, the Mefarshim explain that, a matter of fact, the real name of Esther is Hadass. So why they call her Esther? Esther Amalka. Esther Milshon Esther, that she used to hide. What is she used to hide? We all know she used to hide the identity. And soon we'll get to it. Why did she have to hide the identity? We'll bring the Al-Sheikh HaKadosh, Rabbi Moshe Al-Sheikh, he will explain that. But we have to understand that her first name was Hadassah. What does it mean, Hadassah? Milshon Hadas. One of the spores, species that we have to take on Sukkot is Hadas. Myrtle. Okay, what's so special about the Hadas? Chazal come and tell you, you know why they call her Hadas? Because on the outside, she looked very simple, very modest, very humble person. When do you actually enjoy the Hadas, the smell of the Hadas? It's only when you start rubbing on it. That's when you see the beauty of the Hadas and the smell, the nice smell of it. So Hazal explained, Esther Amalka, although that she became a king of 127 countries, after all, it's a lot of power. She's controlling the entire world almost. Not only that, she never changed. She kept modest. She was humble. Not only that, no one knew about her that she's the queen. She hid from everyone. But those that was close to her realized how good she is. And that's what it said, that Esther became that she beautiful looking, and not only v'tovat mar'eh, that on the outside she looked beautiful, he also yafat Torah. What it means yafat Torah v'tovat mar'eh? That her behavior, her act was nice. That means not just to look nice on the outside, but her behavior to be cheap, like who? Like Vashti lo alenu le'avdil, has v'shalom. So it's come to tell you here in this verse that we comparing Esther Amalka to who?
Hadas.
To Hadas. What it mean Hadas? That only when you come closer to the Hadas, when you start rubbing your hand on it, you start smelling the beautiful of that smell of the mortal. In verse 15, it says something very interesting. And those of you that have the Megillah, look here. It says, Ube'agia Tor Esther bat Avihail, Dod Mordechai. Look at the word Dod, and that's the key word that we're going to focus. Asher לקחנו לבת, לבוא אל המלך, לא ביקשה דבר, כי אם את אשר יאמר, הגיס הריס המלך, שומר אנשים, ותהי אסתר, נושאת חן בעיני כל רואיה.
Now, when the turn came for Esther, daughter of Abihail, the uncle of Mordechai, who had adopted her as his own daughter, to come to the king, she requested nothing beyond what Haggai, the king's chamber and guardian of the woman, had advised. Esther would captivate all who saw her.
What does it mean, captivate all who saw her? Number one, let's start from the end to the beginning. Hazal say from here, if that's been mentioned, you know that the Megillah been written in Ruach HaKodesh, from that word. That how do you know that everyone that looked at her liked her? That's mean if she wrote it, it means that this Megillah written in Ruach HaKodesh. Not only that, look at the word dad, dod, uncle. If you look at it, it says Dalet Dalet. Where's the Vav? It doesn't mention. So if you look also at the Megillah, some of the Megillah, but the scroll, it's definitely wrote without Dalet. And I saw a commentary that Al-Sheikh HaKadosh and Midrash Teilim say, you know what's happening? Happened a miracle. From that it said dad, we call it dod, that's mean uncle, but dad is a breast. What's happening here? Hazal said the main reason that the word uncle didn't been written properly with the letters Vav, because you write dod, Dalet, Vav, Dalet, but here it's written only Dalet, Dalet. Dad, it's mean a breast. Akadosh Baruch Hu make a miracle. Listen, that's Al-Sheikh HaKadosh, Rabbi Moshe Al-Sheikh. Rabbi Moshe Al-Sheikh born in the city of Andripoli around 540 years ago in Turkey. And Ari HaKadosh say Rabbi Yitzhak Luria Ashkenazi said that his commentary on all the Torah, that means Torah, Nevi'im, Ktuvim, on all the Tanakh, it's אחד מ-70 פנים לתורה. It's one of 70 of the true commentary on the Torah. That's Rabbi Moshe Al-Sheikh HaKadosh. Listen what he said. He said like this, Al-Sheikh HaKadosh. En Midrash Tehillim, that a miracle happened and Mordechai suddenly grew up a breast after the mother and the father died before. Her mother died when she given birth to Esther. So who gonna nurse Esther? Mordechai. By that he grown up a breast, he can breastfeed her. The Midrash said. Why is that? Kamal Sheikh HaKadosh, and many of them Mefarshim say, whoa, what's happening here? Why did HaKadosh Baruch Hu have to make a miracle that Mordechai will have suddenly growing breast with milk and he can breastfeed and nurse Esther HaMalka? Why is that? Why, there's not enough women that can nurse Esther, Jewish woman, or even Gentile woman that can nurse her. Why that miracle? Listen what Al-Sheikh HaKadosh said, Rabbi Moshe Al-Sheikh. Listen to that beautiful. He said the main reason that HaKadosh Baruch Hu done all of that, because that if someone else will nurse Esther, they will know her identity. And if they'll know her identity, they'll know that she's Jewish. And to start with, before Ahashverosh will hear, he just heard that she's Jewish, he wouldn't take her. Hazal tell us something else. After Vashti been killed, the Midrash say that Haman HaRasha have a beautiful daughter. That daughter will get to it. That daughter was such a beautiful looking woman. He brought her in the front of the Ahashverosh. He wanted to marry his daughter to Ahashverosh. Ahashverosh looked at her from far. He liked her. But when she came closer to him, he couldn't stand her because she was smelly. She had a bad smell of her body. So he didn't want her. When Esther came, he didn't know that she's Jewish. And say Rabbi Moshe Al-Sheikh that if what is his name? Ahashverosh will see that she's Jewish, he wouldn't even look at her. And that's the miracle that happened. And that's what's hinting here in the verse. Dad Mordechai. What it means, Dad Mordechai? The breast of Mordechai. To tell us that all of that done, that no one will nurse Esther HaMalka, only who? Mordechai. Why? So only him will know about her. No one else will know about Esther. Because if someone else knew about Esther, what would happen? Then identity will be exposed. And if identity will be exposed, it's finished. She's Jewish. Ahashverosh wouldn't look at her to start with without even knowing who she is, without looking at her. So that's what it says. Let's move to verse 21. And look what it says. Bayamim ahem. ומרדכי יושב בשער המלך, קצף בקטן, ותרש שני סריסי המלך משומרי הסף, ויבקשו לשלוח יד במלך אחשוורוש.
In those days, while Mordechai was sitting at the king's gate, Bigtan and Teresh, two of the king's chamberlains of the guardians of the threshold, became angry and plotted to lay hands on King Ahasuerus.
Okay, so first we have to understand here what's happened. Here we see that there is two people that plan to kill the king. And Hazal in Gemara and Masechet Megillah, Yud Gimel Amud Bet 13, folio 2. Hazal say that because Mordechai Ayudi was the head of the Sanhedrin, he have to know 70 languages. And Biktan Vateresh, okay, they spoke a language that's called Tarsi, not Parsi, Tarsi. That's from the city of Tarsus. The city of Tarsus, they was from the city of Tarsus, and not many people knew that language. It was a special language that wasn't the common language that the Persians spoke. But because Mordechai was the head of the Sanhedrin or member of the Sanhedrin, they have to know 70 languages. And he knew what they're speaking. What happened? They plot to kill Ahasuerus. How did they want to kill him? They put a poison in the water by giving him water. And Hazal explained what they wanted to do. They took a beautiful gold vessel to serve the Ahasuerus, and they put water in the water poison. And many of the Mefarshim say, why suddenly only two planting to kill that King Ahasuerus? That's the question that everyone want to know. Why Bigtan and Teresh suddenly decide to kill King Ahasuerus? We have to understand that. So the Mefarshim explain that from the day that he met Esther, the king Ahasuerus, Bigtan Vateresh, that used to serve the king, couldn't sleep at night. Why? Because Ahasuerus enjoys so much to sit and to speak with the Queen Esther, with Esther Malka, that he didn't give them a minute peace. They used to sit and speak until late at night. And every minute he used to order a cup of tea, glass of water, a cup of coffee. He didn't give them a minute peace. And they say it's not going to end up. Since he met this queen, he's driving us mad. He doesn't give us a minute peace. We can't sleep. What should we do? What should we do? We going to plan to kill him, and then we'll have peace. Then we can sleep. Like this, we can't sleep every day, every night. We can't. We don't have a peace. So Hazal explained, the Mefarshim explained, that's the main reason that Bigtan and Teresh put that plan to kill who? A King Ahasuerus. And now we can understand what's happened here and how the plan been exposed. By that Mordechai was speaking 70 languages. I think that that's enough for today because it's almost an hour. I usually never take more. I would like to take the opportunity to thank all of you. I hope that you enjoyed the show. Please God, next Sunday we'll try to do more awards the Megillah that we can understand. I'll bring more introduction and then we'll do more Hidushim. So remember, we finish only chapter 1 and chapter 2. Be'ezrat Hashem, next week, Sunday, we'll do more. If there is any question regarding the Megillah, I will try and answer if I can. Any question, Rabotai?
Rov, the Suda, what's that? It's on Friday, the Suda of Purim.
Yes. I'm going to speak about it, what to do closer to the time, how to do it, when to do it.
Yeah.
There's a problem. Why?
Yeah, it's a problem now.
And Hazal said that you cannot eat on Shabbat the usual meat that you eat during the day. Why? That it come that you shouldn't eat. Why? So you should, when you come or to Shabbat, you should have the appetite to eat. So that's Seudah Rishona Shel Shabbat. Be'ezrat Hashem, I will plan all of that. I'm also planning to find someone that can read the Megillah. Maybe we'll do it in Zoom, the same like we done in Migilat Eicha, so everyone can enjoy the Megillah. I'm trying to put something together. I'll see what we can do. Be'ezrat Hashem, closer to the time, I will put the messages.
Thank you. Thank you, Rob. Thank you.
Pleasure.
Thank you very much. It was very, very interesting.
Right.
Good.
Thank you.
I hope you all enjoy, guys. Have a good evening. Enjoy the new week. Look after yourself and keep safe. That's the most important. And Be'ezrat Hashem, I wish you all Refuah Shlema to all of you. Louis, I will take the opportunity again to wish you Baruch Dayana Emet, wish you a long life. May you never see any more sadness. And Be'ezrat Hashem, that this month, the month of Adar, that it said to increase the joys. May HaKadosh Baruch Hu will increase the joys to you and to your family and to entire Kol Am Yisrael. Be'ezrat Hashem. Amen.
Oh my. Thank you, Rov. Thank you. Appreciate it.